All right, it was 2 years ago this month. It was August 26th. I remember it well. 13 U.S. service members were killed in Afghanistan during the Biden's botched withdrawal. And since then, Gold Star families of the fallen have reportedly been shut out and ignored by an administration that wants the American people, frankly, to forget all about the disaster that it created, which, by the way, was a disaster that probably emboldened Russia to invade Ukraine. At any rate, yesterday, members of those Gold Star families testified at a public forum convened by Congressman Darrell Issa of California. And indeed, it was an emotional time of testimony.
We were told lies, given incomplete reports, incorrect reports, total disrespect. I was told to my face he died on impact. That's not true. The only reason that I know this is because witnesses told me the truth. I was lied to and basically told to shut up, that that's the way it was. Not true.
Wow. That was Kelly Barnett, one of the family members who testified yesterday. So just how badly has this administration failed those Gold Star families? Joining me now to discuss this is Tom Kilgannon. He's the president of Freedom Alliance, which meets the needs of our wounded service members, combat veterans, and military families. Tom, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you.
Jody, always great to be on the program, and congratulations to Family Research Council on 40 years of doing amazing and important work.
Well, thank you so much for that, and I couldn't agree more. An amazing organization. All right, well, you heard some of the other testimonies. Kelly Barnett, we just heard a clip of, but there were quite a number of others yesterday. Tell us about what really stood out to you as you listened to those testimonies.
Well, Jody, I think there's no other way to describe it other than heartbreaking and unforgivable. Kelly Barnett is the mom of Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover, 31 years old, who did 3 deployments during the global war on terror. Now, and she's saying that the administration lied to her about the nature of her son's death. She was told that Darren was killed immediately in the bombing, when she found out from witnesses on the ground that in fact he was not. He was very badly wounded. He lived for a while longer. He applied his own tourniquet, and he was supplying ammunition to his fellow Marines. So why is this family not getting the full story, the full and complete story? That's what these Gold Star families are owed at a very minimum. You know, we designate these families as Gold Star because that means that there ought to be, and I think there is among most Americans, a solemnity and a level of respect that is at the highest level. But it's not coming from this administration. Kelly Barnett said that she was lied to by senior members of the administration, by members of the military. And that is not the only family to say such things. Multiple families have said similar things about the information they received about their sons' deaths at Kabul.
It's amazing. So how do we wrap our brain around this? What do you make of the responses coming from this administration to these families and others since the botched withdrawal?
I think this is not the only time that we've heard this kind of thing. Throughout the withdrawal of Afghanistan, or the lead up to it, there were reports that were inaccurate. I think there were lies. There were stories that were being told that were just not true. And then when you got down to August of 2021 and the actual withdrawal, it was the most embarrassing and unnecessary loss of life that America has had in a long time. This just should not be tolerated. And since then, there has really, Jody, been no accountability from this administration. Nobody was taken out to the woodshed. Nobody was fired. Nobody was made to lose their job because of these 13 deaths. And somebody has to answer for the numerous mistakes that were made. And we're seeing the consequences of it. There was just a Gallup poll released last week that said the public's confidence in the American military has dropped to a 25-year low. Only 60% of Americans have confidence in the military. Now, that is not reflective of these 13 service members. It is not reflective of the NCOs or the great enlisted or the good officers. This is a reflection on the leadership, both military and political, who have politicized the military and failed to give proper accountability for families like this and service members, heroic young men and women who gave their lives for our country.
Well, Tom, you are on the front line of this. Last question for you. You deal with so many of these families, the combat veterans themselves, wounded warriors, and so forth. How can our viewers and listeners pray most effectively for these families?
I think that we need to pray that they have the strength and the ability to endure this cross that they've been asked to carry. Jody, at Freedom Alliance, we provide college scholarships to families of the fallen and to children of wounded service members. And I can tell you that when a child loses their parent in military service, normally that child is at a young age, maybe 2, 3, 5 years old. So when we begin to work with them as they go to college, it's 10, 15 years later after that loss. But the loss is still raw. It is still something that affects them a great deal. And these are lasting injuries that these families have to deal with. I think, when the withdrawal from Afghanistan took place, this administration inflicted post-traumatic stress on the entire nation. And now with these lies or these incomplete stories that the families are given, these families are dealing with emotional trauma that has been inflicted by this administration. It is unforgivable. So we need to pray that they have the strength to carry this cross, to bear this burden, to be able to forgive, and to be able to honor their loved ones as time goes on.
Tom Kilgannon, president of Freedom Alliance, thank you so much for the tremendous work you do to these awesome families, and thank you for joining us this evening on Washington Watch.